College football nerds here talking with a special guest. I told y'all that Nerd Josh was out on a boat in the Atlantic Ocean. I'm on a boat, memes and songs everywhere. And I did a Penn State sort of note with James Franklin. Y'all need to check that out because it's pretty good. Kind of getting back in the good graces with Penn State people that I think they declared a fatwa on us for a couple of years with our Drew Aller takes. But I've got a special guest with me, Brooks Austin of the Film Guy Network. And if you haven't seen his content, you absolutely need to, but I'm sure you have since we're doing a Georgia Ole Miss preview. But we have a lot of people that watch our stuff that aren't necessarily fans of the teams. We're in with a lot of Alabama people. And Brooks, I don't know if you know this, but you got a pretty big following, cult following amongst the Alabama people because you've been so high on them. But we're not going to talk Alabama. We're going to talk with a little bit Georgia, a little bit Ole Miss. And you know, you provide a service to the community with film breakdowns and looking at all 22. I provide a service to the college football community by arguing with people on Twitter. And people don't realize it, but this is what I provide. 90% of our tweets, at least the ones that make everybody mad, are from me, unless Josh is giving a quarterback take. And the argument I got into this week was about Ole Miss, who I think is probably a little bit overrated based on body of work. But there's a lot of people that came out of the woodwork and said, you know, Washington's not rated and they should be. Ole Miss barely beat, you know, doing the transitive property thing, barely beat Washington State. My question to you to open this discussion is, when you see a situation where North Texas beats Washington State 59-10, Ole Miss struggles to beat that same Washington State team. We don't do the transitive property thing, but when you see that happen, looking at the rest of the body of work in context, do you think this Ole Miss team is probably overrated, or this Ole Miss team was spending 2 weeks prepping for Georgia?
I just watched the first 29 offensive snaps back to back, right before this interview. I think they had 130 total yards of offense and 0 points. I think they had a missed field goal. I think they had an interception, would have had an interception, got called back for a penalty, and then fumbled the football. And meanwhile, Washington State held the ball for like 8 or 9 minutes. They were down 7-0, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, in that football game, and had 150 some odd total yards of offense through the first quarter. Like that's college football. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a bad performance. Like when I looked it up, I was like, oh, they must have 3-and-outed and got walked. They were moving the football, got in situations where they had. Oh no, excuse me. They went turnover on downs in the red zone inside the 5 on their first possession. I'm totally off. So even worse, they went 85 yards down to the 4, turnover on downs, Ole Miss style, which that's Ole Miss football. They go for it on 4th down, right? And then the next possession, they're walking it, have to settle for a field goal, miss the field goal. The third possession, they're walking it and fumble the football. And now all of a sudden they're down 10-0 and everybody's panicking. By the way, it's like 28,000 people in the stadium. So 11 a.m. local kick. Very sleepy, very college football-y to me. That's what I saw. Defensively, they give up runs, man. They give up runs. I think I'm not a stats guy. I'm a film guy. You can see why. They stack gaps. They misalign. People are hunting Soterian Perkins. The opening script from Washington State was, where's number 4? Let's run at him. And they ran the ball pretty effectively, and they have very, very poor tackling in open space out on the perimeter in the screen game too. So that's a necessarily bad matchup for this Georgia game too.
I remember before the Ole Miss Tulane game, everybody saying, watch out for Tulane. That's a good G5. And by the way, they are. They beat the crap out of Northwestern. They beat Duke. Everybody wanted to give Ole Miss their flowers after they beat LSU, but in my opinion, their most impressive win this year, and it is an impressive win, I'm not just blowing smoke, is 45-10 against a Tulane team that just hammered a Northwestern team that beat Penn State last week.
Yeah, no, I think John Summerall is a really, really good football coach. And that offense from Tulane, if you haven't watched it, I got a taste of it studying Darian Mensah last year. They're the most professional college offense that I study. They do so much. They're so multiple. It's not just playing different personnel packages. It's the way they package them. They'll get in the eye. They'll get in the spread. They'll get into empty. Right next, they'll put an H back in at fullback and get into king sets. Like, they are the most multiple, most Shanahan mixed with like college spread that we have in college football. So I'm with you. They are a really, really good football team. And to put up 45 points on that defense as well, I mean, I thought it was a really, really balanced performance. That was the first one that alerted me to Trinidad Chambliss as like, man, he is a dynamic runner of the football. He is like a running back that can really rip it now. Like he's getting confident. Lane's obviously giving him the answers in their headset prior to the snap because they play with such pace. But man, the kid's playing really, really confident, and he's hard to get on the ground even when you do get home.
So Lane said this week that Austin Simmons is still working to get back and doesn't necessarily know if he's going to play this Saturday. In your opinion, is Chambliss taking that job when he does get back healthy, or is there still an opportunity
I'm not messing with that offense. That offense has so many more answers now that he is available. Like Trinidad is running the helm of this. Like Kewan Lacey is great. Don't get me wrong. But their run game is so explosive because the balance and the count has changed, right? Teams are going to play light boxes against Ole Miss naturally because they think their defensive lines in the SEC can get home against this offensive line. They always have. All right, that's the MO. They know that they have better defensive linemen than Ole Miss's offensive line. That's always been the case, by the way. Ole Miss hasn't had a first or top 3 round pick at the offensive line position since 2018. So the NFL shows it out as well. But when you have a quarterback that's not just like hey, on 3rd and 2, he might run quarterback power and might pick up the sticks. I'm talking about the quarterback on 1st and 10 might run quarterback counter or quarterback draw and hit you for 65. That's a totally different balancing of counts. And it makes Kewan Lacey that much better as well because eyes are drawn now to the quarterback. He's a big-time threat. I mean, I think Lacey's been the best back in the SEC at making guys miss, taking care of the first free defender that arrives. He's been the best in the SEC, in my opinion.
So
Ahmad Harvey's just running over you. I mean, I don't want to get I don't want to get like clipped.
The Zoo fans are coming for you.
I know they are. That's why I want to go ahead and stop. Ahmad Hardy is a rolling ball of butcher's knives. Like that dude is a muscle hamster. Okay. Kewan Lacey's a shifty lightning bug, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and they can both be good, y'all. There's room for everybody.
Oh, Ahmad Hardy's great. Ahmad Hardy's great.
So we're a little more nerdy on this side, and we look at numbers, and I want to see if we can marry our numbers perspective to what you've actually seen in reviewing tape and on the field, just in a general feel. When we have various statistical categories where we adjust for opponent quality and we give a relative performance rank. And when you look at Ole Miss's profile, I'm going to tell you what it says, and I want you to tell me if you agree with what you've seen with your eyeballs. What it says is Ole Miss has a good, not elite offense, but surprisingly, because people think of Lane Kiffin's teams as maybe not being good defensively, a good defense except for rushing yards per game and rushing yards per attempt.
I would argue that would bear out correct. I think their offense is a lot better than other people think. And what the stats bear out, I guess, and what the metrics say. I was most excited about this interview, not just because I respect the hell out of y'all's work, but because of what you just laid out, the dynamic between guy who only watches tape and guy who studies the hell out of you don't got regular stats, by the way. You got college football nerd stats. You got super stats. So you looking at it from that metric, and then like you said, just me coming in here with just the tape. I was really excited to see how we vary in these opinions. But no, I think that is relatively true. But back to my comment about Ole Miss's offense, I do think they're a lot better than most people expect. Like Deuce Alexander's playing great football, the transfer from Wake Forest. Guys, he had 400 total yards of offense last year at Wake Forest. He's got 375 yards receiving as is right now. Like they're making him basically, I compared it last night to their version of Jeremy Bernard. If you've watched Alabama this year, they use him in a variety of ways, jet motion, line him up at running back, use him in all kinds of different things. They do that with Deuce Hilton as well. Caden Lee, here's a player comp for you. How about Hunter Renfrow for Caden Lee? I think he's that type of route runner. I think he's that type of football player. I think he's that type of sure-handed wide receiver, and he's really, really good. They've done a great job in the portal, right? Adding guys that were making impacts on their roster right now. Caden, obviously, a kid that's been there for a while. But no, I like their offense a little bit more than most.
Moving over to the Georgia side of the fence, Pate's on record as saying he thought that they got the fumble call right. I will take that a step further in that they got the fumble right. They didn't get the touchdown right. And I honestly wonder if, just given the temperature in that stadium, they didn't take care of the fumble return for the touchdown, just sort of forgot about it, hoping that everybody else would too. But am I wrong that should have been 7 points for Georgia?
Not to be a I was there guy, but I happened to be standing like on the 5 looking at basically watching the line judge run in. Those 2 line judges are pulling bodies off the pile, blowing whistles, looking for a football, not knowing that it's going back the other way. So there's inadvertent whistles going left and right. I mean, half of Georgia's sidelines yelling that the ball's out. They're at the damn numbers. I think Kirby grabs Kyron Jones and moves him towards the end zone. So like, I think you're asking a bit much there, but you are right. That place would have came down. That place would have came down if they come out here and go, hey, not only is the fumble upheld, but that's 6 the other way. No. That place would have been rushed immediately. So no, I think they, first and foremost, like, the ball was called a fumble on the field. So no matter how many screenshots you got in the world, no matter how many freeze frames you do, no matter how many slow motions you do, there's an argument one way or the other where the ball starts moving, when the ball starts moving. Therefore, indisputable, called a fumble on the field. I thought the difference in that football game was that following drive, Auburn falls apart. There's a targeting penalty on the quarterback, which, by the way, if you hit the quarterback that hard on their sideline, you're probably going to get a penalty for it. Your own helmet comes off. We hit him so hard. So that's probably going to get flagged. The roughing the passer happens 2 plays later, extends the drive. Again, y'all give up 3 points because of it. That's when we start to crumble, and not to mention what happens in the second half. I think they're outgained 301 to 50 in terms of total yardage from the fumble on the last 32 minutes of that football game.
It's interesting you talk about what was going on when that happened. I don't think fans often understand. And 2 plays we had this Saturday. 1, Alabama, Missouri on the fake punt, and 2, in this play here, were based on what it was called on the field. What people need to understand is, in video review, they cannot make assumptions. You cannot make an assumption that what you don't see on film was happening. You cannot make an assumption because you don't have an angle where the Missouri player dives out of bounds. Like, if you don't know where to spot the ball, then you don't know that he got a first down. If you don't know where the ball started moving, because everybody keeps showing this one frame as if that shows this one zoomed in, crazy low pixelated frame. We don't know, but I thought it was funny because in the broadcast, if you were there, you didn't hear it. Broadcast, everybody was saying
I've heard it's bad. Is McDonough going nuts?
Well,
I think what the TV cameras also fail to show is that CJ Allen hits it first, and then Raylan Allen hits it. Like, all those screenshots are on the second time that ball's moving. But I felt this way before Auburn fans get upset. I felt this way about that turnover call to start the football game against Oklahoma. That should have been an Auburn touchdown. It's called an Auburn touchdown on the field. I don't know how you felt about that play. I thought it was a fumble. Next Johnny that's listening to this might think it was an incomplete pass. That makes it indisputable. You can't overturn those play calls. I thought Auburn got hosed on that one. I thought this was football. And I thought that blaming the refs in a moment where Kirby Smart calls a timeout, Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart get together, grab both their linebackers and say, hey, he's going to try to put that ball over the goal line. Y'all need to punch it out. And that exactly happening. I hate that moment of football brilliance and excellence and execution gets thrown by the wayside because zebras suck. I've always said that I hate that. Like, it doesn't get put into the zebras' hands unless the good football happens. So we don't talk about the good football. We just talk about screenshots and drawing lines. Like, what? Come on.
Yep. McDonough was going crazy because they kept freeze framing on the second punch. They freeze frame where you see it's all on the goal line, it's all underside, and then stripes. But stripes are coming out way after the ball's loose. And people have a sense of what's fair and what's not fair, and that's a gut punch, and they think it's not fair that gut punch happened. But here's what really happened. And this is where I want to get your opinion on this, because this does speak to Ole Miss because it's very similar in this regard, and that's why I'm going to get us back there. everybody thinks that play broke Auburn. And for a time, I think it did, but they came out and made plays and just didn't execute. Like they
Yeah.
schemed guys open in the second half, and Arnold couldn't hit them. What happened was that play sort of coincided with the end of Hugh Freeze's script. And that's when everything started turning because Georgia figured out offensively and defensively where to get those wins. Kirby and his staff are just legendary for in-game adjustments, and they survived the script. I don't know that even 17-0 they lose that game, because that was, in my opinion, having watched you freeze forever, that was the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna play assumptions like Auburn, like fans do, they assume they win the game right there. You're assuming the other way. So I'll give you the sideline access again, not to do the I was there thing, but when you photo shoot these football games, like I enjoy doing for these Georgia games, you're very close to the sideline occasionally, and there might be support staff that you're standing by occasionally. And I'm having a conversation with someone wearing the logo, and I'm like, "Hey, man, what the hell is going on?" Same thing everybody's thinking. What is going on? And he looks at me dead in my face and goes, "They're going to run out of plays. They're not being explosive enough. They're going to run out of plays." And eventually in the second half, they had to repeat the script. They tried to repeat the script. Every single play got fit better. It got fit better and better and better. And they became more inefficient, more inefficient, more inefficient. And you are correct. This is a Hugh Freeze thing. Like, to me, over the years, his base install is RPO. Like, that's the base blocks of his offense. And they get deemed relatively inefficient nowadays in 2025. You can't go out there and live off that being your offense. I don't believe that to be the case. So yeah, you're right. You survive the script, you'll probably figure out Hugh. But if you don't, like Baylor didn't, you're gonna get steamrolled.
Right. So looking at Georgia's profile, just in terms of our numbers, it thinks Georgia's great at scoring, but not great in individual pieces. So passing yards really is where the struggle is, and I don't know that I agree with that, because I think that a lot of game scenario has dictated how Georgia had to do offensively, or what they had to do offensively, and defensively. Really, everything but passing yards per game, and we don't really care about total yards that much. Like, we don't care if Georgia's 72nd relative performance in passing yards, because they're a great defense in passing yards per attempt, and that's what we really care about. In your opinion, let's talk about this offense, because I think that Georgia's offense is incredibly undersold, and I think a lot of it has to do with playing two teams who really played keep away, really played ball control in Auburn and Alabama. And two games that they won, one that they could have won. I think that people have a wrong impression of who Georgia is and who they can be offensively, just because they're not getting that many possessions.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia fans have been screaming about that for like 18 games now, the slow starts. Part of it's their own doing, right? Like, you can't get off the field against Alabama. They go 9 for 9 on their first third downs, did Alabama in that football game. Like, they're going to be holding the ball. You're not going to get it. I think they had 2 possessions in the entire first half against Alabama, and they went 3 and out in one of them, if my memory serves me. And they went 3 and out, this week against Auburn to start the football game. So that type of stuff, when you do that and your defense is not getting off the field to start games, you're not going to get a lot of cracks at it. And by the way, everybody knows this about Georgia too. They don't want to be left on the field for 98 snaps like Tennessee's defense was. If you get left on the field against that offensive line in that run game, you're going to give up 250 yards on the ground. You just are. They're elephants, man. They're just massive human beings. So I'm with you on the fact that they're a little bit undersold, but I understand. I loved what you just said. They're great as a unit, but they're not collectively, individually great. They play great ball. They're playing Georgia football again when I study them. And what is Georgia football? Yeah, it's great players. They're not as great individually as they once were. They never will be again in the NIL era, but they're executing again, man. They don't have missed assignments. They don't bust assignments. They don't have lack of effort plays. They don't have assumptions on tape, right? I can't tell you how many times over the last 2 years I have watched football players on tape back out of the gas because they're assuming that on offense, my guy's going to get tackled, and he breaks the tackle, and he doesn't get to break the second tackle because you weren't there to get the block, assuming. on defense, assuming that my teammate is going to make the tackle. So I am gassed out. I'm out of the gas. And now I don't have the angle to get him. And boom, assumptions just cost us 60 yards in terms of an explosive. They are better in those categories, right? And I do think this questioning, right, the skepticism of this offense as a passing offense is warranted. The quarterback is still not like fully confident throwing into zone windows, right? Throwing with anticipation, layering the football, okay? But I did see signs of growth, and we are 6 starts in, right? 7, 8 starts in, however many it is. We're relatively young. I did see growth, at least in the terms of he was willing to pull the trigger against Auburn. He was backing out a lot. He was turning down a ton in those opening 5 or 6 games.
So Vegas has got this as Georgia 7.5-point favorite. Our model has this Georgia 26.9 to Ole Miss 24.2. I don't want to spoil. You're doing a preview on this one, right? I don't want to spoil your.
It's already prediction. Out. No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay. I'd love for you to tell me, what you think the score is going to be, but also in that score, what unit is there a matchup advantage that really is going to reflect that score?
I don't think either of these football teams will stop creating chunks in the run game. I think the quarterback and Kewan, I think Trinidad Chambliss and Kewan Lacey's ability to balance counts and be explosive and make people miss their ability to run the football. I think they'll be ripping off chunks. I don't know if they're going to rush for 200 yards. They might rush for 150. We've been talking about, and I would love to figure out if you can get me a metric on this, my man. I think in college football right now, running the football is harder than ever. And we have what I'm calling sputter, spits, right? Guys running into brick walls, 30-yard spitter. Like just making somebody miss, finding one final crease, and we get like a semi-explosive, right? I think that's what we got a lot of. Georgia is a consistent running the football team. They are a 7 yards a clip, 6 yards a clip at their prime, 4 yards a clip, 4.5-yard clip at their worst. That's what they are on the run game. So I think Ole Miss's nature is explosive runs. They'll sputter, spit. Georgia, I think, has a chance to rush for 250, 265. Centarian Perkins is 6'2", 220 pounds. And the opening script for most football teams is, hey, let's run at 4 so 4 can't rush us. And they're running at 4 pretty successfully.
So I think that Georgia wins this. I got it 31-24. I think just under the Vegas number. And right at their over.
I didn't duck your predictions putting it on me. I just looking for my notes to make sure I'm consistent with last night. Because I got one of these here football brains, and that thing just goes out. I expect a lot of points. I'm thinking like something you said. I think that maybe 30-24 was exactly what I said last night.
Okay. Yeah, I think that Ole Miss's defense is better than it has been in the past. But I think it's been hidden a little bit or protected a little bit by their opponents. LSU's offense is not good right now. That was a team that was highly rated because they beat Clemson, but LSU's defense is playing great, but their offense is a disaster. And I think that's hidden a little bit of that. Ole Miss played a not great offense in Washington State. They gave up 35 to Arkansas. They gave up 23 to Kentucky. And I think at some point, as much as I like Chambliss, I think if you can make him throw, like you said, Stockton's not showing you a lot of layered throws and hole shots. Chambliss isn't really either. I think a lot of what he's doing is exploiting the fact they're scheming guys open and giving him one read throws because he's got everybody thinking he's got him on roller skates. So 31-24 is what I got. Give me a parting shot on this one before we move to the next one.
Lane Kiffin is the best play caller and schemer in college football for my money. I think if you gave Lane Kiffin Ohio State's personnel, that sumbitch would score 75 a night. That's how I think. That's how I feel. So that's it. But other than that, this offense historically does not travel. That's the main reason I'm picking Georgia to win. The whole check with me, coach in the headset, don't get lied to by the defense, disguised coverages, things like that. Historically, it does not travel very well. I can't remember what the home road splits are under Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, but I think there's a net delta of like 18 points. Their offenses just don't perform as well on the road, and that's what I ride in these predictions.
All right, y'all. He's Brooks Austin, Film Guy Network. Please go check out his content, especially if you want more Georgia content. He's got it for you, so check it out.